You ever notice how the zombies in Return of the Living Dead Part 1 were basically your worst nightmare? Fast, smart, strong, and completely unkillable. And then in Part 2, they were different? Same trioxin gas, same idea, but the vibe is way off. In Part 1, these things were vicious. In Part 2, they stumble, they make jokes, and they seem more like punchlines than predators. It is the same franchise, so why do they feel like they came from a totally different world? Let us rewind to 1985. Return of the Living Dead hits theaters, and it turns the zombie genre on its head. It takes the George Romero-style zombie formula, slow, brain-killable ghouls, and throws it out the window. Dan O'Bannon, the writer and director, gives us something new. Zombies that can run, talk, and strategize. They are still rotting corpses, but they are smart enough to set traps, call for help, and manipulate the living. And they cannot be killed. Period. Destroy the brain, it does not matter. Burn the body and all you are doing is releasing more trioxin into the air, reanimating even more dead. They were an unstoppable, escalating nightmare. Now, jump ahead to 1988. Return of the Living Dead Part 2 comes out. The setup is familiar. Another leak of trioxin gas, more corpses waking up hungry for brains. But when they do not act the same. They still cannot be killed by destroying the brain, so that rule stayed intact. But they feel slower, clumsier, and less aggressive, and, most noticeably, they are funnier. Sometimes intentionally funny, sometimes unintentionally. Instead of pure menace, we get zombies doing slapstick routines, cracking one-liners, and hamming it up for the camera. If you want an in-universe explanation, the environmental conditions in both outbreaks were essentially the same, with trioxin gas released, mixed with rain, and quickly seeping into a cemetery full of long-dead bodies. In Part 1, it was Resurrection Cemetery next to the medical supply warehouses, and in Part 2, it was a suburban graveyard. In both cases, the corpses reanimated almost immediately, and their physical state was similarly decrepit. So why did they act so differently? One possibility is variation in the chemical batches, since not all drums may have been identical. A slightly different formulation, or contamination from the environment where the barrels were stored, could have produced zombies with the same invulnerability, but altered cognitive function or motor skills, resulting in the more erratic, comedic behavior seen in Part 2. Another possibility is narrative perspective, because in Part 1 the story frames the zombies as terrifying forces, and the characters respond in genuine panic, while in Part 2 the film leans into comedy, so even though the zombies are just as lethal, they come across as bumbling and less threatening. Of course, the most straightforward explanation is that the change was entirely deliberate, the result of new filmmakers taking the series in a broader, more humorous direction. Part 1 was helmed by Dan O'Bannon, who balanced horror and comedy with a razor's edge. It was funny, but it was also genuinely unsettling. The zombies were terrifying because they did not follow the rules we expected. They made you laugh, but you were still afraid of them. Part 2 was directed by Ken Wiederhorn, whose background included films like Shockwaves, a slower-paced, pulpier horror. The studio also wanted a lighter tone to reach a broader audience, something that could still be sold as horror, but would not scare off younger viewers. The end result leaned hard into comedy, with the zombies often acting like bumbling villains from a Saturday morning cartoon. They even brought back James Karen and Tom Matthews from the first movie, essentially playing new characters that winked at their original roles, doubling down on the meta-comedy. And that shift in tone changes how the audience feels about the zombies. In Part 1, the humor came from the absurdity of the situation. In Part 2, the humor comes from the zombies themselves. In Part 1, they were clever predators. In Part 2, they seem more like dangerous cartoons that are in on the joke with the audience. But here is the thing. Whether you prefer the relentless terror of Part 1 or the goofy chaos of Part 2, both versions have their place. Part 1 changed the rules for zombies forever. Part 2 bent those rules until they were almost unrecognizable. Same undead DNA, but two completely different personalities. One will keep you up at night. The other will make you wonder if it is okay to laugh while someone is yelling for more brains. To be honest, I still personally find the zombies of Part 2 to be scary, even if they lean into humor more than horror. There is something unnerving about their design, the exaggerated facial expressions, and the way they still keep coming no matter what. And Tarman, in particular, remains one of the most unsettling zombies ever put to film. His grotesque movements, the slimy skin, the wide, hungry eyes. Even in Part 2, he feels wrong in a way that sticks with you. The humor might take the edge off, but for me, there is still something deeply creepy about those moments when the comedy drops for just a second, and you are left staring at a rotting thing that wants nothing more than to eat your brain.